Hey, what's up, guys? Earlier today on Twitter, there was a couple threads going around about an article that was written by Tassi for Forbes having to do with Halo. And so I thought that, hey, you know what? I didn't read the article yet. How about I read it? Let's make a video. We'll go through the whole thing together. So it's titled, Halo Infinite was scaled back significantly from original ambitions, says Joe Staten. Now, we kind of knew that. We knew that Joe had come in and made a bunch of decisions, and clearly it seems like the game's kind of like lacking a little bit. But let's see what he has to say. So again, this is written by Tassi, senior contributor for Forbes. He writes, one of the weirdest aspects of the Halo Infinite campaign for me was the final section, where there's one giant portion of the map still hovering around. And yet when you finally arrive there, you're just given a linear mission or two, and that's it. No exploration in what looks like a third major island on the map, and no hope that Halo Infinite would expand beyond its singular biome. Turns out that once upon a time, Halo Infinite did have a much grander scale in mind, but it was slowly slimmed down and down over time. The open world shrunk, many campaign segments were kept linear, and the biome remained uniform. This is not some insider talking about rough development. This is 343's Joe Staten, being upfront about how much the game had to be scaled back over time, both before he joined the project and after. Speaking on the Game Maker's Notebook podcast via Tech Radar, he had a lot to say about what the game cut over time. We might check this out, and if it's not too long, maybe we'll react to it as well. Something I want to talk about real quick, this idea of the biome. I remember they talked about, this is before Halo Infinite came out, I remember them talking about different locations that they had gone to in the United States to take pictures of environments that they wanted to use. And I remember this because my friend had moved out to Utah, and Utah was one of the locations that 343 went to take pictures to base their biomes off of, or, you know, base areas in the game off of. And of course, all we got was a Pacific Northwest type forest kind of biome. But I kind of forgot that they had taken pictures and that they must have planned to do different biomes that obviously got cut. And I think that that's one of the criticisms that you frequently see, is like the whole game kind of looks the same. So it's interesting that they had different biomes, but they had to cut them. Okay, Joseph Staten says, the team went through a lot of iterations on scope and biome variety before I joined. Even after I joined the team, we had to make choices about where to scale back. We didn't end up cutting that much ultimately from the open world, but I know from the original designs there was a pretty significant scaling back of what the team had hoped at one point that they could deliver on. We knew that we needed to truly deliver a quality experience and scope our ambitions to make sure that the stuff that we did ship met expectations. That kind of makes sense. This probably happens with every game, right? They have all these ideas, all these things that they want to do, and as they get closer to the deadline, they have to cut things because they want to make sure that whatever they do have out has, you know, enough quality and makes sense for the game. So it continues, the article continues. In other words, they had to scale things down in order to make sure what was there was really polished. No doubt mandated after the disastrous initial showing, which caused the finale year delay of Infinite. It's a weird way to write that. But it was more than that too. As Staten said, they even talked about inserting crafting systems to use more mechanics from other open world games. This is what I saw on Twitter earlier today. Joe Staten says, we talked a lot about crafting, for example, and my infamous line to the team was something like, Master Chief doesn't need to kill animals to make leather shirts for himself. He's a massive armored super soldier. If he wants something, he goes and kills it, grabs its gun, and then keeps on going. I love that. He's a massive armored super soldier. If he wants something, he goes and kills it, grabs its gun, and then keeps on going. I am vaguely unnerved that crafting was ever seriously considered for a Halo game, open world or not, but at least Staten was very much right in his pushback on that point. Still, this is yet another tick in the does 343 really even get Halo column? And of course, Staten himself got his start with the series back in the OG Bungie days. A crafting system sounds so weird to me. I don't know how that would even work in Halo. I doubt that it was actually like killing animals to make leather shirts for himself, for Master Chief. Like, what else would you craft? Like maybe weapons? And that actually kind of seems a little bit interesting to me, but I don't really know how that would work. I would love to see some like early ideas about what crafting would have looked like in Halo Infinite. The one thing that I always thought about for the Halo Infinite campaign, and sorry, I'm getting away from the article. I'll go back to it for just a second because there's an update. So we should read that. I had this idea that the bases, and maybe in a future Halo game they can do this, but those forward operating bases that you take over, it would be really cool to kind of like in a Fallout 4 way, customize the base. Maybe there's some automatic turrets. Maybe you can set up where you want a vehicle to kind of drive up, and where the drop off, section for the Pelican is, where the Marines can stay. I even had an idea of like, it'd be cool if you could have like, you give Marines certain jobs of like, hey, you're the cleaner, you're the mechanic, you're the weapons guy, you're the, I don't know, the farmer, so that way there's food. Like I think kind of running a base would also be really cool. Okay, let's read this update. Joe Staten has chimed in to clarify the above comments, saying being anti-crafting was something everyone agreed with. Okay, so Joseph Staten tweeted, also, to clear up some confusion I've seen on social... Sorry. Also, what is happening? Sorry, I keep getting taken to the... I was just trying to highlight his words in the tweet, but it's a hyperlink and it was sending me to Twitter. Okay, so Joseph says... Also, to clear up some confusion I've seen on social today, when I joined 343, the campaign team was not working on a crafting system. In the interview, I used it as an example of an open world game system that we all agreed wasn't right for Halo Infinite. Okay, that makes more sense. In game dev and any big team endeavor, it's essential to define common ground before you move to areas that require more alignment and prioritization. No crafting in Halo Infinite was an example of common ground. I recommend watching the whole interview for context. Okay, so that makes sense. And this part where he writes, does 343 really even get Halo? That makes a little bit more sense when there's an idea of crafting, right? Because I thought, and I'm sure as you were listening to this, or maybe you read this earlier, crafting in Halo, how does that even work? That doesn't even make any sense. And so if that was like seriously considered, yeah, I could see everybody kind of going like 343 doesn't even get Halo. That doesn't even make any sense. But it's good that Joseph Staten clarified that, and it's good that they updated this article to say that, because I was like reading this really thrown off by the crafting thing. That didn't make any sense to me. So I'm glad that he clarified that, and I bet that there's a lot of people who didn't see those tweets by Joseph and didn't read this updated version of the article. So it's good to have that information of like, hold on a second, next time your Halo friends are like, dude, they were trying to put crafting into Halo Infinite, you can go, hold on, that was actually updated in the article. That wasn't true. He was just using an example of something that everybody on the dev team thought wasn't good for Halo Infinite. He continues, one confusing aspect of Microsoft's plans for Halo is where things go from here on the single player front. Yes, we know Halo Infinite will continue to produce multiplayer seasons, and it's releasing features like campaign co-op and Forge mode, but we have gotten zero indication of how and when Zeta Halo itself is going to expand. The idea appeared to be that Halo wouldn't need to go 5 to 6 years between major games anymore, with Infinite used as a platform. So when do we see Chief again? When do we get those missing biomes? When do we meet the Endless? All open questions in search of answers since launch. So Sean W had put out a YouTube video, and I love his videos. I think he's a great Halo YouTuber. So if you don't know who he is, which I would be super surprised about, you're probably like, who is this guy who I'm watching right now? I already know who Sean W is. Anyway, Sean W had talked about some leaks that he had gotten from a source that talked about the Endless coming in like 2025, maybe. Future Halo Infinite campaign DLC. So we don't have any official word. That's certainly true. But I think everybody kind of was under the impression and knew that was going to come at some point. So he's saying there's no plans or anything like that, but I think we do know that there are plans. Okay, and that's the end of the article. So that was again written by Paul Tassi, and you can find him on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. I'm glad that he wrote that article. Anytime there's an article about Halo, I think it's cool to read it and kind of get into. So tell me what you think. What do you think about some of the biomes that ended up going missing that we didn't get back? And this podcast, I don't know how I would react to it if we would listen to the entire thing in one video. That might be a little bit too much, but maybe what I'll do is I'll listen to it, maybe pull out a couple sections from it, and we can make a video on that, because any kind of video or anything where they're interviewing Joseph Staten, I want to see what he has to say and get into it. I think that would be pretty cool. So thanks for checking out this video. This is the first one, and hopefully a lot of videos like it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that it was informative for you. Please like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff that you're supposed to ask for on YouTube. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this, and I hope that you consider following our channel. All right, see you on the next one.